Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming to the Executive Suite award-winning and chart-topping R&B singer and songwriter that we all know, Sevyn Streeter. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So
Good.
listen, how was 2020 for you? I love to ask people how 2020 was because some people give me some great stories, some people give me some sad stories. You know, how was 2020 for you?
2020. I got to know myself very well.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
it was I think it was much needed for me. You know, I was able to. I got into meditating. I was reading more. I dug deeper into my music. It was good for me personally, for my mental space and my spiritual space.
Okay.
I tell people all the time I got way closer to God during 2020. I think a lot of us probably got way closer to God during
Yes.
2020 because
Yes.
with life just shifting the way that it did, that was a lot to take in. But I think ultimately it was beneficial for me.
Okay. Okay. Did you get a lot of writing done?
I did. I did, and not just even just like recording writing. I got just writing in my journal, or just writing my thoughts down. Like I was able to kind of dump a lot of my,
Yeah.
thoughts onto paper and onto records during the year. Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. So let's get into your music because at the end of 2020, you gave us two amazing seductive singles and video. Hit Me Up, Kisses featuring 𝓣𝓱𝓮. Can you tell us about both of the records? And also, how did it come about you and 𝓣𝓱𝓮 collabing? And that's actually one of my favorite records, but we can talk about that.
Thank you. No, literally, well, Hit Me Up was written by one of my friends. His name is Forrest. He's an amazing singer-songwriter. On IDs, one in the Forest, you want to follow him. He popped off Hit Me Up. I can't even take credit for that, but I liked it because I was able to sing in different pockets. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to kind of like challenge myself. I'm always wanting to challenge myself to learn how to sing in different cases, and that's what I loved about Hit Me Up. And and then with Kisses, my manager X, I can't take credit for that. He was like, we were talking about 𝓣𝓱𝓮, he made that happen. And next
Okay.
thing I know, 𝓣𝓱𝓮 was in LA, and then him and all his people came to the studio, and it felt like a party in the studio,
Has
and
to be a vibe. Yes.
so much fun. It was so much fun, like that night. So yeah, I love those two records because I felt like that I hadn't hurt myself in that way before, and
Yes.
I always want to challenge myself a little bit.
Okay. So who are some of the other artists that you would love to collaborate that you haven't with yet? And I'm talking about on your music because I know you wrote for a lot of people. We're gonna talk about that next, but for you and your album.
So many. I would love, I want to do a record with Miguel. I want to do a record with SZA. I want to do a record with Summer. I want to do a record with her. I love all the girls. I think like
Okay.
it just makes me happy that we like have Black female R&B. Like I grew up on Black female R&B where we just had this plethora of just beautiful ass Black women with all of this talent, with all of this good ass music, and I
Yes.
miss that. You know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
feels like that again. So I would love to do something with all the girls, and then um, boy, yeah, like I said, Miguel. I've never done anything with Usher. Would love to do something with Usher.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Um, who else would I love to do something? Bryson. I would
Yeah,
love
I
to
can see that. I can see that. Yeah.
Bryson. I would love to do with Bryson. I would love to do something with Party next door, and I would love to do something with Drake. I said Drake all the time. Drake.
Okay.
I have a
Okay.
I have a whole list
You
of
got you got so you got it written down. Okay. Okay. So listen, I'm very curious.
yeah,
Very curious, and this might be a hard question because there's a lot of great R&B singers out there.
yeah.
But who are your top 5 R&B
You're not
artists?
gonna do that to
And I'm
me.
gonna say, but here's the thing: I said R&B. I narrowed it down to R&B. And you know what?
My top 5 R&B.
Yes, R&B.
I can't choose that. There's
You
no
can't choose. Okay, so how about this? Your top 5 today's artists. That's a little bit easier.
I have so many that I love. Like literally, I could. Half of them are my friends who are singer
And
songwriters,
that's and that's why you can't answer it. I got you.
and then half of them are artists who I just genuinely just love. I may not even know but I can never pick. I can give you a plethora of artists that I love.
Who influenced you? Let's flip the question. Who are some people that influenced you?
Who as a songwriter?
Both.
Well, as a songwriter, I love Neo, and I love Babyface. I love The Dream. I love well, I'm forgetting somebody really, really bad about. But those three, I love them.
Okay.
Love Sean Garrett. Love Sean Garrett. Jonte Austin. Yeah.
I know the list goes on, and I understand. I totally understand, and that's why I asked the question in that type of way. So I totally understand. Totally understand.
They all do so many different things so well. So it's hard.
Okay. So you've been in the game for a few years. You know, you got some years. You know, nothing crazy, but you got some years.
Yes.
What do you feel about R&B today compared to when you first started or came into the game?
Well, I like that R&B today. It just feels limitless. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It feels like there's no wrong way to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that you know, we're in a space now we can experiment with every type of sound our minds could imagine. You know what I mean? And that really, really, and not that you couldn't in the past, it just wasn't as, you know, common, and wasn't as you know, it wasn't as a, you know, it wasn't championed so much. So, you know what I mean? If you did some fly shit, you just did. But it was just different back then. And I just like the freedom that we have as R&B artists today. I think it's fire.
Okay. So let's go through a little bit of the list of the people that you wrote for. You know, Brandy, Kelly Rowland, Fantasia, and the list goes on. And even the wave for Ariana Grande, Chris Brown, Strip, Fine China. The list goes on and on and on and on. But the question is, how do you know when you're writing a record, hey, you know what? I'm going to give this record away, or I'm going to keep this for myself?
You know what? I like to let myself build out my projects first, my albums first.
Okay.
Then whatever is left on the cutting room floor, you ship it out, and whoever wants, whoever want to get it, you know what I mean. I'll hit my publishers and find out who's looking, or I may have a friend that's an artist, like, hey, you looking for some records? Like, here, like, take that, you know what I mean. And I love that me and Eric, we do that a lot. Like, he just sent me the most insane record.
Okay.
He sent it yesterday, and I called him. I said, if you ever send me a record again, and he was like, you know, that's what you do when you have, especially in Eric's case, I'm assuming that it's a lot like mine. You create your projects, and then you have these records that are left over, and you just dish them out. But that's how I do it. That's how I do it.
Okay. So listen, back to your music.
Yes.
Your sophomore album, Drunken Words Sober Thoughts. Are you excited?
I'm so excited. Like, I don't even think like real life, and you're gonna think I'm lying. I had my own dance parties to my album.
Oh wow.
Like, in my house, I turned my music sky high. I had myself a little cocktail, and I personally, I enjoy this music. I like this music. If it were mine, I would want it to be mine. You know what I mean? So that's my level of excitement. Like, I cannot wait for fans to just to get all the vibes. I want to see how they move to it. I want to see what their favorite lines are. Like, I'm very excited.
So what made you say, you know what, now is the time to drop this? And I don't know what the thought process maybe started in 2020, but what made you say, I think it's time?
You know what? It's just knowing when your project is done or close to being done. It's one of those things. The songs start to magically put themselves in an order that you don't purposely do that. You know what I mean? You look up, I have a batch of records, and I start to want to hear certain songs more than I want to hear other songs. You feel me? And so then those songs, when I'm doing that, I'm listening to the order that I play them in. And every time I go back to them, I play them in that same order. And they kind of take shape. And then now I'm rambling, but this is really my process. And then I listen to that particular body and I go, well, what do you feel like is missing? And maybe it's something that I possibly may need to go back and write, or hit one of my homies, be like, hey, you got anything that feel like this? And that's kind of how next thing you know, you got a project.
You are
So
not rambling, because we like to know what goes into the process. You know what I'm saying? And when people hear this and see the work that you put into the process, makes them even want to listen to the album even more. What would you say is the difference from your first album to this album? And I know the growth, but what do you really feel, music wise?
my first album to this album, I think conceptually, because my Girl Disrupted, I felt like conceptually as a whole, it was kind of, and although there were really good songs, but they didn't carry it. The songs didn't carry one message. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Okay.
This project, even though I didn't necessarily try to make it be this way, it's definitely sending the same message when you hear the songs together. Um, I like that the whole thing just feels like a vibe and a ride, and and I think that's for me. That's the type of growth that I look for in myself. I want to challenge myself to make my songs marry each other in ways that that they feel like that when you play the album. So
And why the title, Drunken Words and Sober Thoughts? We hear it, but why, did you decide to go with it?
well, for one, I mean, when I first started working on this project, coming off of the other one, and I was very vocal about, going through depression and dealing with that type of thing. I was very vocal about that. And I think that when I first began this project, I would be in the studio by myself and having to, everything was new for me, new everything, a new situation, new management, new everything. And I gave myself a little liquid courage every night. Real talk. You know, it would be me and my engineer and a vibe. And some nights it was wine, some nights it was tequila, some night, but I'm just being honest. That's just what it was. But it felt the songs just kind of started to take shape, and then they started to, I would say things and write the craziest things at night, and then wake up in the morning and go, oh, is that what I said on that record? Like, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Oh, I like that. And so it really is like some of my drunken words became my sober thoughts. You know what I mean?
Got it.
The next morning. And so, and that's just the truth of the matter. That was my creative process in the beginning. And then as I started to dive into it, I started to really begin to tell that story, um, you know, intentionally, as opposed to before how I just stumbled upon it in the beginning. No, I was like, no, I like how this feels. So I have some records that feel like sober thoughts. I have some records that feel like the morning after. You know what I mean? I have some records that feel like walk of shame. You know what I mean? I have some
I
records,
got you.
you know what I mean? So it's kind of
Yeah.
all in there together.
Okay. So now let's get into your new single you just dropped a few days ago, Guilty, featuring Chris Brown and ASAP Ferg. And how is it collabing and working with Diddy in the studio? Like, how did this all come about? Tell us about the record, and just the vibe in the studio, even when you heard the sample.
This record, for one, I love this record. I really, really do, and I'm glad that people like it, for one. So thank y'all for liking it.
Yes.
But I gotta give credit where credit is due. Spice, Chris's cousin, he sent me that record.
Okay.
He was like, "Yo, like," he sent me a couple of them, and I heard that one, and I was like, "Don't you get that record to nobody else? Don't play it for nobody else. That's my record." And he was like, "Say less, sis, I got you." And I cut it, and with Ferg and Chris, with Ferg, I wanted, I like the energy that like New York rappers, brought, especially on that sample in the past, like how
Yeah.
total. I just like how a New York rapper felt on that.
Yeah.
Um, and I played it for Ferg, and he loved it. And then Spice played it for Chris, and he loved it. And I was like, it just came together beautifully. And I remember asking Spice, I said, make sure, I said, ask bro if, I said, ask him if he thinks that you know, if I should sing it a little bit different. And he was like, he talked to Chris and he said, Chris was like, nah, you tell her to sing it exactly like how she's singing it. Like you like go crazy. And so I just think that we just all love the record. We all had a love. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay. Well, listen, thank you for stopping by the Exeqtive Suite. And can you please introduce to the people your new single, Guilty?
What up, you guys? It's your girl, Sevyn Streeter, and this is my new single, Guilty, featuring Chris Brown and 𝓲𝓱𝓮 𝓔𝓁𝓏.